Tommy was not an ordinary cat. He was small, gray, and had a single white spot on his chest that looked just like a tiny, distant star. He lived a quiet life in a quiet neighborhood, in a small house tucked away at the very end of the street. Every single morning, without fail, Tommy would sit by the window. He'd gaze out at the world, his eyes full of curiosity, as if he was waiting for something truly important to happen. And one day, it did. That afternoon, a blanket of dark, heavy clouds rolled in, covering the sky and casting long shadows over the neighborhood. The rain began to fall, first as a gentle patter, then as a heavy downpour. The streets, once bustling with activity, became completely empty as everyone rushed inside their homes to escape the sudden storm. Everyone, except for a little girl named Lily. Lily was only 6 years old, full of wonder and a love for adventure. Earlier that day, she had followed a beautiful, vibrant butterfly all the way into the old park near the edge of the forest. The butterfly danced and flitted, leading her deeper among the trees. When the rain suddenly started, she found herself lost and alone. The familiar path had vanished, and fear began to creep into her heart. She didn't know how to get back home. Meanwhile, Tommy was in his usual spot, watching the storm from the safety of his window. The rain hammered against the glass, and the wind howled outside. Suddenly, through the noise of the storm, he heard a faint, soft sound. Meow, help. It was a strange sound, almost like a kitten's cry, but not quite. It was a child's whimper carried on the wind. Tommy's ears instantly stood up, twitching and turning to pinpoint the source of the cry. A protective instinct he never knew he had surged through him. Without a moment of hesitation, he leapt from the open window, landing softly on the wet ground below. He didn't think about the cold or the rain. He just ran, his small paws splashing through puddles, heading directly toward the sound. The park was a different world in the storm. It was dark, cold, and unwelcoming. The trees swayed and groaned with the force of the wind, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers, making scary, whispering sounds. But Tommy wasn't afraid. He pushed forward, his focus unshaken. He followed the faint cries until he finally found her. There, huddled under a broken wooden bench, was Lily, shaking from both cold and fear. "It's okay," Tommy meowed softly, his voice a small comfort in the big storm. He walked over to her and gently rubbed his head against her trembling hand. A small smile flickered across Lily's face through her tears. "Are you lost too?" she asked in a tiny voice. In response, Tommy simply turned and started walking away, but he stopped after a few steps and looked back at her, his gaze steady and reassuring. The message was clear. He wanted her to follow him. He knew the way. Gathering all her courage, Lily stood up, her small legs wobbly. She took a deep breath and began to follow the little gray cat through the relentless rain. The journey was difficult. They navigated past towering, dark trees, through thick, muddy paths, and over slippery, moss-covered stones. The storm raged around them. At one point, a loud, cracking clap of thunder echoed through the sky, so close and so loud that it made Lily jump and almost fall. Seeing her fear, Tommy immediately ran back to her side. He stood right in front of her, planting his paws firmly on the ground, his tail held straight and strong in the air. He looked up at her, his eyes unwavering, as if to say, "I'm here with you. Don't be afraid." His bravery gave her strength. She kept going, her eyes fixed on the small, determined cat leading the way. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the edge of the neighborhood. The warm, bright lights of the houses shone like beacons in the gloomy evening. "Lily," a voice suddenly shouted, cutting through the sound of the rain. It was her mother, her face etched with worrying and relief. She ran and swept her daughter into a tight hug, crying with joy. "Oh, my sweet girl, I was so worried. How did you find your way back?" Then her eyes fell on the small, drenched cat sitting calmly by Lily's feet. "And who is this little hero?" she asked, her voice filled with gratitude. Tommy sat there proudly, his fur slick with rain. His little white star seemed to shine even brighter on his chest. From that day on, everyone in the neighborhood knew Tommy. He wasn't just a cat anymore. They called him Tommy the Brave Cat, and every morning, Tommy still sits by his window watching the world go by. But now he's not waiting for an adventure to find him. He's remembering the day he answered a call for help and became a hero. Sometimes heroes have paws.